Okay, this is going to be a quick video, a review for the grade 8 students of how to convert decimals to fractions. Now, the first thing you have to be able to know, if you're going to do this, is you have to know your place value, because without knowledge about place value, this is actually an impossible task altogether. So our place value starts off, we're just going to do 4 positions here, and we'll call them position A, position B, position C, and position D. Now, A has a name, this position right here. It's called the tenths. B is called the hundredths. C is called the thousandths. And D is called your 10,000. So we can keep going from there, but we're not going to because it's pretty easy just to leave it at those 4 because we don't really use a lot of the other ones. Now, when I say a tenth, as a decimal, a tenth is written that way, and as a fraction, it's written that way. A hundredth, as a decimal, is written this way, and as a fraction, is written this way. A thousandth, and a fraction, and the 10,000ths, and the fraction. So, with that said, that looks complicated looking, but it's not that bad. Let's look at one number like this one here, 0.2. Now, if I was to read that, if I was to cover up the decimals, and I'm just going to take my little screen thing here and cover, oh, not that one. Where is the thing? Right here. Right here. Okay. So if I was to ask you to cover up that decimal and say what number is that, you would say it's 2, right? 2. And then what I would ask you is, well, where does that 2 fit in place value? Well, the place value would say it's in the A position or the tenth position. So I would read it as 2/10. So when I read that number as 2/10 properly using place value, it's really easy for me to write it as a fraction because 2/10 is written like that. Okay, really simple, not hard at all. If I was to give you 0.13 and ask you what that says, again, I would kind of cover up the decimal part and say what number is that? You'd say it's 13. And then if I remove that and say, what position does that 13 end in? Well, it ends in this B position here, right? 1, 2. The B position, which is your hundredth, so I would read it as 13 hundredths. And therefore, I could then, so decimal to words, 13 hundredths would be 13 over 100, okay? As a fraction. That's really, really, really easy. With this one here, if I was to cover up the decimal again, I'll grab my shield and move it on over. And say, cover the decimal. What number is that? You would say it's 56. Remove that and say, okay, in tenths, hundredths, thousandths, the 56 ends in the thousandths, so it's 56 thousandths, which is therefore equal to 56 over 1,000. Okay? Really, really simple stuff, not really complex. Now, the only time it gets a little complicated is if we're dealing with something like this. All right. So here, anything that's whole numbers, like it's not decimal, but a whole number, we're just going to read that as the number. So in this case, it's going to be 1. And the decimal, we're going to read as the word and. And then we're going to read this part. So it's 1 and then we're going to read that one, which of course, if we cover up the decimal, says 4. And where does that 4 end? It ends in the tenth position. So therefore, we would read it as 1 and 4/10. Or as a fraction, 1 and 4/10. And one more example just to, oh, that's not what I wanted to press. One more example. If I gave you, what does this say? This would be, so this one, our whole number here is 12. So we're going to start with the word 12. And there, oh, that's not how you spell 12, is it? Oh, there goes my eraser. So let's erase this here. 12. And then we're going to read our decimal as the word and. And finally, we have the 0.5, which of course ends in this position here, which is the hundredth. So we're going to read that as being 5 hundredths. Okay. So now that we've written in words, we have 12 and 5 hundredths. It's going to be 12 and 5 hundredths as a fraction.